I'm John Davis. I own the Aman flock of pedigree texel sheep. We have a small holding in the Ammanford area of Carmarthenshire. We started breeding pedigree texels in 1988. Previous to that, we were producing fat lambs. We were producing the fat lambs off open cast, reinstated pasture in the main. We were aware of the importance of selenium and cobalt supplementation from an early time, because the grass on as you can imagine on the new lays were very luscious. We weren't allowed to graze them until they'd matured. We could have a good response to using part of it, which we'd used for several years. But then as time went on, the response to the part of it wasn't as we had experienced in the past. We had to look for some other selenium and cobalt supplementation. We tried some glass boluses. They weren't the real answer. Of course, then the open cast ground all became reinstated, so there was less of it and there was less of a need. But we remembered all this when we went into texels. And then when we started growing Typhon, we were aware of the fact that they needed supplementing, and we were told how important the iodine was. And of course, the Animax boluses were the complete package. We started using them and we haven't looked back.
Now, you farm in partnership with your son Howell, who's here also. Tell me about the results that you saw after you started using the Animax boluses.
The texel breed itself is a breed that hasn't traditionally been pushed in the same way that some of the native breeds have been pushed. There are plenty of breeders of the native breeds that tried the texel and found that they were having difficulties in producing lambs to the same quality. Basically, the position was that they would have difficulties if they were fed anything which was too fresh, silage aftermath, reseeded ground, anything with goitrogens in cabbage, kale, rape, typhon. And it was counterintuitive because we were putting them on to this sort of thing and they weren't really coming on. The position with the boluses was the slow release meant that you didn't get the peak and trough effect. So basically it's cut out white mussel disease, which was a deficiency which came about at the time of weaning lambs, so starting to put them on more oily food than the creep feed, together with silage aftermath or the typhon or whatever you'd grown. There was a big challenge to them at that point, which the boluses overcame. At the time that you needed to push lambs on after weaning, it allowed you to do that, and we found that a dose with part of it on weaning with the boluses in would avoid any sorts of problems with that and would keep the lambs thriving.
And were you experiencing good growth rates?
Yes, and in the past few years we have started performance recording, which just confirmed what we knew already. The growth rates in that regard have been quite impressive, but also it's allowed us to compare with other performance recorded flocks, the actual figures, and we're quite happy.
And what about fertility?
Well, we've never really had a problem with fertility in the texel ewes because we had looked after them, but it's an aid, and it's the case of, well, if we didn't do it, what would the situation be then? I don't think we'd want to take that risk, really.
And you've been pleased with the results?
Yes, very pleased. Again, through working with the texels, we've done frozen AI, we've done fresh AI, and the conception rates that are spoken about were usually better. So that is an indication, I think, of the position of our flock compared to other flocks. But as I said, if you're paying money for an AI program, whether you're using your own tips, whether you're buying semen, whether you're transferring embryos, you don't want to take the risk of anything, any stone being left unturned, anything which could compromise the money that you are going to spend anyway.